Ah! 4, 3. People heard me say 3, and we're live here on Plus One EXP's Roll for Content channel. My name is Tony Vicente. I'm Chief Alchemist here at Plus One EXP, which is a weird little brand. Where our main hope and desire here at Plus One is to help amazing designers find great players who love their games, and amazing players find great designers whose games they can love. We do that in a lot of different ways, but because we work directly with designers, once a month we like to sit down and talk to somebody about some of the latest and greatest things happening in indie RPGs that month's on our Intrepid Merchant series. This episode, though, we're actually going to look back at the end of the year, at the entirety of 2025, pull some things that we think were important out, discuss them a little bit, and do a little bit of future casting, talk about what our hopes and excitements are for what we think is going to come in 2026. I could not think of a better guest, which is why I invited her on, than Rowan, Mysel, Zeoli.
Wow, you fucked up the one
I fucked up the one I know. I was so focused on the other one. Rowan, why don't you tell people who you are, what you do, and where they can find you online if you want to be found?
Hey, so I'm Rowan. I am one of the co-founders of Rascal News, an independent worker-owned tabletop journalism outlet. We specifically cover role-playing games and the business and the art and all of the messy in-betweens that the indie the journalism you got me fucked up, Tony.
I did it. It's me. I did it. I transferred it all to you.
Yeah, you put all the bad energy on me. Yeah, we do news about the tabletop role-playing game industry. I don't know. What else do we do, Tony? That's about it.
That's it. That's all there is to it.
That's it. You can find us at rascal.news. We have an announcement section where you can post about the things that you are doing. It is a free community resource. You can email us at press@rascal.news and we'll get you access to promote your thing, because there aren't enough places to actually centralize all the stuff going on in the industry. And we have a sale going on right now. You can get 2 months of Rascal News for $1 a month. That's 80% off.
Actually, and in some ways it's more than 80% off, because all subscriptions are about to go up $1 in cost also too. So in some ways it's more like 60% off, or that math may be wrong, but it's something like that.
Even more percent off.
Yeah.
You know, listen, we're crazy. Listen, you can get these sales right now.
Awesome. You and I actually want to talk about a couple different things before we move forward. But one thing I do want to talk about, because I get asked this question a lot, because I tell people to use the announcement section, because I think it's great. So we always encourage people who we're doing crowdfunding with, who we have projects coming out with, in addition to sending in a press release, to use the announcement section. I have some advice that I give people, and and they always say, "Is that okay?" And I said, "I don't know, but no one on the Rascal team has told us to stop yet, and they approve every single post." But I don't think anybody's really doing it, and that is, I think the announcement section is a really great example of a pure gift that Rascal has given the community. It is the ability to say, "You want to make an announcement using our platform. We are never going to be able to cover everything. If you write up something good that you want to announce and submit it, we will look at it and make sure it is not horrible, and then we will hit approve and post it out," which is a great way to keep work light on the team, still have a level of approval over what goes out, but let people make clean and clear announcements. One of my tips is hey, you should be announcing your thing, but you should be writing something specific and interesting about what you're doing. Like, a general press release isn't actually going to get many eyes or views, and it's not actually good content for a media site. It's not it's not bad if that's all you have, is just to put it's live on Kickstarter. That's great. But the Hinterlight team did a really great job of doing a cover design reflection that Robbie put out as part of their announcement. But then Josh from His Majesty the Worm just did one about why they're not doing a Kickstarter, why they're doing pre-sales for their project. I think both are great examples of the way people should think about how they're doing announcements on Rascal, period. Here's my thing. There's no technical limit on how much you could do an announcement, as long as you're announcing new things and creating distinctive comment. Is that correct? Is that currently the setup until somebody I encourage to ruin it ruins it?
I would say the only barrier is don't pretend like it's an article that we wrote about your thing.
Right.
That's the only line. And you know what? That's a pretty, you could really push that line.
Yeah, because sometimes I'll say like, hey, if you're up for 4 weeks, there's nothing that prevents you from making 4 distinctive new announcements using the announcement function about your project as a way to amplify what you're saying and have it on there. And there is a level at which that lends credibility to it, right? But it is, I think, clear lines for anybody who wants to look there. I don't think there's anything weird about it. And people are like, that's the thing that people are always like, is that okay? I was like, do it and let them tell us to stop. To stop would be my take on that.
And we're gonna be so real. Unless you do something real weird about it, we've only ever had to deny 2 people. And both of them, well, no, 3 people. 2 of them were for AI. One of them was like a real, just like someone had done an interview with themselves and was trying to frame it as though Rascal was the one doing the interview. And we were like, that one we can't do. I'm so sorry.
Oh man. Oh, that's, yeah. Don't do that. But you heard it. Like, so that's the thing. Like, I think it's such a great resource. I think people need to think more dynamically about the way they use it, because, and I think they should think about what is the platform they're putting it on and what people go to that platform for and what would be interesting for them. And I think those are the things that people should be putting in the announcements, along with we are live. So if you go over to Rascal right now, you can find Robbie's reflection on Hinterlight, which is live right now, funding at ttrpg.link/Hinterlight. If you're watching us, you probably don't want to hop over to the actual play on Infinite Citadel, where they are playing Hinterlight right now, but you could do that. It wouldn't make me upset.
Yeah, fuck us. Right?
Yeah, I mean, they're playing a game. So then I want to talk a little bit more about Rascal, about the work you do, about the transitions in your life. But first and foremost, I've heard a rumor, and I just need to know, how are you liking Deep Space Nine?
Oh, Tony. Oh, Tony.
This is the thing I didn't tell you about in advance. This is my gotcha. How's Deep Space Nine going?
I just finished it.
Oh, did you?
I just finished it like 3 nights ago.
Oh my gosh.
It's so good. I love Deep Space Nine. It's the best Star Wars, and anyone can fight me about that. Star Wars. Now you can kill me.
I was like, this is either a flub or a bit. Either way, it's excellent, and I wasn't gonna call it out. Yeah, it is.
Star Wars is Andor, and you can also kill me about that.
Yeah, so Deep Space Nine is my favorite Star Trek. Viddy did tell me the other day that you were in the middle of it because we were talking about space stuff and other things like that. And so I did need to know. I do have a couple follow-up questions, but it is my favorite Trek. I now would say I think it's one of the 2 best series. First of all, fuck Paramount, right? Like, let's get that out of the way first. But I do think Strange New Worlds is equally good Trek. While I still prefer Deep Space Nine. And Deep Space Nine is doing something very different than Strange New Worlds is, but Strange New Worlds has brought in a lot of the great things that it did in the fact that it's very human. It's much earlier. I think they're willing to do a lot more form-defying things than traditional Star Trek has, but it brings back a lot of the camp of the original series in ways that Deep Space Nine is the only other ones who have come really close to, even though they all have a level of camp, especially on holodeck episodes, right?
Oh yeah, put me in like a 60s Vegas casino. Yeah,
yeah. And if we don't solve the problem, also the station will explode, like for whatever reason.
Come on.
I didn't love the holodeck episode. I think this last season was the weakest Strange New World season. That's a different conversation. What have been some of your favorite Deep Space Nine moments?
Well, I think the thing that I love the most about Deep Space Nine is Deep Space Nine really asks the question of like, okay, you did it. You won the revolution. Now what? Like, that is such an interesting question to explore. Like, yeah, you overthrew your oppressors. You now get to make a government. You have to govern now. What does that look like? You have to navigate these like large political questions. You have to deal with the conflicts that are coming up between different factions of the rebellion, between people who now have to work with this giant, this is what everyone tuned in for, who have to work with this giant intergalactic like federation and also your oppressors, who are now part of this like international stage that you are a part of.
Yeah.
And like dealing with people who were once like freedom fighters or terrorists, depending on your perspective, who now have to like wear a suit and show up to work every day. Oh, so good. So like the duet, that episode, I think it's in the first season,
Mm-hmm.
where like Kira is just confronting uh someone and is just like, you are the reason everything is wrong. And the oppressor is like, I'm not that person, but I'm so riddled with guilt for what my people have done that I need to be punished because there's no way I can live a just life after having aided and abetted these horrors. Oh, so good.
Like I was a child when TNG started airing, right? So when the Next Generation started airing, I was just old enough to convince my parents to let me stay up late enough to watch it. And so I got to watch TNG and had watched a lot of the original series at that point in time, caught up on all that, and got to watch Deep Space Nine happen like as I was a teenager and could just not have to ask my parents to stay up anymore. And Voyager and all the other things, like it was primed to my childhood and teenage years. It's a deep touchstone for me. It's also was really funny watching back as an adult and being like, oh, the first two seasons, they really lean on the Next Generation. Like they're really constantly like, who from the Next Generation is just going to show up? Until they really get like the legs that everybody's standing on. But those at opening stakes, and it's also like, it's the first really human moments of Star Trek that are not in the hyperbolic sci-fi. We've pushed so far that we've come back around to confronting our own humanity. It's just there in the stakes of things. It's the first time the Federation is viewed as a colonizing reality, right? Like all the other times, it's like, well, the prime directive means we're not really colonizers ever, even though we want to violate it a lot of the time. It's always for good reasons. It's like it's putting that in the forefront and making it a conversation that like even if you're coming in to help, you are still, there is a level of cultural imperialism that you're enforcing on the people around you. And Quark ends up being one of the clearest voices around that. Like, so this this Ferengi character that is only really concerned at first with himself and his own desire, like is the person who's most clearly able to call that out. I think because he can see like, yeah, this is kind of the con of the Federation that is constantly happening. There's so many good things that are happening. The religious elements of the Bajoran people, I love. God. Like it's so good. Like all the interplay of that. I mean, there's just so many things that they get into that are not present in any other series, or that other series are able to pick up because of what happens in Deep Space Nine. But it's the whole thing's so good. I was so excited when you told me you were watching it. So do you have a favorite character or character you resonate with most?
Jadzia Dax, fucking perfect character, actually. Perfect, incredible character, can do no wrong.
Yeah, tremendous. Like Jadzia like is like I think a lot of people's fixation point. And they're mainly because there's so many interesting stories that are being told in like through that, and they become a through line. And I'm going to spoilers a 20-year-old show. When that character substantively changes into being a different character, like there are so many interesting things that come in around personal identity that are already strong themes in this show, but Jadzia is able to talk about them as a character in so much more of a direct way that I think is so powerful and palpable. And it's also really great to see the transition from wise, sage, established Trill to like brand new, like I was not planning on being this person, and suddenly I find myself here. Like after a certain plot point, we'll keep it light.
And it's so good. I also love Nog. I think Nog's journey is really interesting, and going from being like, I'm a little piece of shit, and now I want to be in Starfleet, and then I get traumatized by the realities of war and have to confront that. So good. I think also Captain Sisko really goes down the line. He brings the tradition back of the weirdest line deliveries I've ever seen a human being do.
Has a couple of really just sharp, like does really dynamic character shifts, like with certain line deliveries that are absolutely wild. Yeah, the whole thing's great. If you've never watched Deep Space Nine, go watch Deep Space Nine.
We could keep talking about this for hours.
Yeah,
and we won't.
it's so good. The last note for me is like, I just love Miles O'Brien consistently having a million bad days in a row.
The worst days.
Like, oh, did your child get warped through time today, or did you get trapped in a dream prison for decades, or did you contract a horrible virus? But it's also, I will say, Julian and Miles's friendship is one of the best examples of male friendship. Like, I mean, like, there's all the erotic subtext there, but like, it's also just one of the best examples of male friendship on TV, period.
You want to talk about erotic subtext? Garrick and Julian.
Garrick and Julian's even better. Yeah.
Ooh, ooh.
So, all right, go watch Deep Space Nine, everybody. Let's
write me an essay. Have it on my desk by next week.
Let's dive into a little bit more into your work. So let's talk a little bit about a couple years ago you got together with a couple other people. You formed a ragtag band of rascals and started Rascal News. Tell us a little bit about it, but also then kind of transition. Where I want to go with that is also like you've made some changes this year and how you're interacting with the overall service itself. So give us the Rascal elevator pitch so people can know to go to Rascal News and support it. But also tell us a little bit more about where you were also headed personally.
Yeah, so Rascal, so the whole journey of it is I had written some freelance. I had been bouncing around place to place. I'd done some volunteer writing. I'd written at Polygon. I'd written at the Fundamentals. I'd written for Tabletop News for a little bit. And then out of nowhere, Lynn Kodega gets laid off from IO9 after the OGL story, makes an insane amount of coverage happen. And the two of us, Lynn calls me one day and goes, "Hey, do you want to start Rascal?" And I go, "Yeah, sure, why not?" And then we pull in Chase Carter, and the three of us then decide, okay, yeah, let's do this thing. Lynn then gets a job as a writer's assistant for Interview with the Vampire, and so then it's me and Chase, and we're like, oh, what do we do here? And then by the grace of whatever gods there happen to be, come Kaylin and Thomas Manuel, and they are just two of the most brilliant writers. It's so great having them on the team. So now we've expanded our team to 5. We've continued growing. And then recently we brought in Kihoon, who is a writer from a lot of incredible websites in the video game sphere, brought them in to start doing some tabletop writing. And it's all been really great. Yeah. During all of this, though, because unfortunately, worker-owned journalism doesn't pay super well. As you might imagine, I had to get a second job working for Polygon last year. However, Polygon ripped to the version of Polygon that existed. Shout out to Charlie Hall, one of the best to ever do it. Yeah, Thomas's essays are a gift to the medium, and you're right, and you should say it more. I was writing for Polygon from the first week of November 2024 to the last week of January 2025, and 2 big things might have happened during that time span. During my first week at Polygon, Donald Trump was elected president again for the second time, and then at my last week at Polygon, he was inaugurated for his second term. And throughout all of that, I was writing 10 articles a week. And that is an unsustainable amount of writing. The journalism industry and the games journalism industry has a history of doing some real rough stuff to their writers to try and get content out. It was not great. It really burned me out. Some rough stuff happened. And then we've started to see just how much this new presidency has really impacted the day-to-day life of a lot of Americans. And I started getting really despondent and disconnected from games because I was writing theoretically about how games can like impact people's lives, how games can change the world, how people are using games to kind of process everything. And I just started feeling really disconnected from that reality. Mm-hmm. Despite moving in with some incredible game designers, I live with
the coolest house in New York City.
Truly, the coolest house in games, I might even say. It's me,
You could.
Elliot Davis, Dylan Appelian, Venezia Valetti, and Robin Eckberg. It is an incredible house. I love them all so much. They are all brilliant people. But even still, like I started volunteering in my neighborhood more. I started doing food distributions at mutual aids. I started organizing in community defense, and that started filling a part of my soul that I felt was missing a little bit. And I realized that I was doing a disservice to my colleagues by not being able to produce what I needed to produce to keep the site running, because I do still believe in the site.
Which
and
is
its
not
mission.
10 articles a week at Rascal.
Which is not 10
was
articles
not
a
that
week.
rate.
Importantly, no, we have a much healthier relationship to work, but we're still working at that, you know? But I still was like, I couldn't really quite do it. And so I have taken an administrative role at Rascal. I am the de facto CFO. I do payroll, I do quarterly projections, I do marketing strategies. I look at the numbers and go, this is what people want to read. This is not what people want to read. This is when we should do a sale. This is what our pledge drive should look like. These kinds of like big picture operations ideas, and looking at a lot of raw numbers.
Awesome.
So that's where I've shifted a little bit, and it's been hard to kind of let go in that way, but it's been very fulfilling. But there is some new stuff coming on the horizon that I'm really excited to talk about.
Anything you can talk about? Anything you want to drop here as an announcement?
Yeah. So starting in hopefully the new year, we've got a bunch of film equipment, and I am going to start making video essays out of previous Rascal articles. I'm
cool.
very excited about that. The first one we're doing is Austin Walker's Realis, the piece that Thomas Manuel wrote about surrealism.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to kind of dive into that and like integrate my previous experience, because I was for a time a film student and then a creative writing major, and I did a lot of film editing in my life, and I was a content creator for a very long time, and so I'm bringing it all together, you know.
Awesome.
And then my other real big project that I'm really excited to work on in 2026 is I am going to be filming and producing a pilot for a show that I have been trying to make happen for a very long time. I have found a producer friend of mine and a cinematographer friend of mine, and we're going to be making the working description of it is Anthony Bourdain, but for games.
Oh my gosh, that's so much fun. Let's come back to that when we're talking about 2026 at the end and dive into it a little bit more, because I do want to do that.
Yeah.
Super excited to hear the video content. I mean, I know that there are people who will not read things but will listen to videos. I know there are people who watch videos but not listen to audio, or will listen to audio will listen to audio but will not watch a video, even if it's the exact same thing, and they could just put it down and not look at it. So I love the diversity of form. I also love being able to take some of those essays that are out there and give them kind of the visualization that'll help really kind of drive some of those points home. So I'm really excited to see that. But yeah, Anthony Bourdain of Board Games, I'm super excited to dive into more when we come back. So normally we would be talking about like Kickstarters that are live right now, or cool things happening this month, which there are plenty of great things happening out there. Why anybody would want to launch a Kickstarter or something this time of year, I don't know. But if you want to check out somebody who did, head to ttrpg.link/Hinterlight and help unlock another stretch goal from the Gossamer Coast crew. It's a gothic world building ritual and game where your character starts off dead, and then you enter into the Fey realm that killed them, and then the Fey who have resurrected you have them help you rebuild your fallen kingdom. And then you have this really amazing Fey realm that has been done. There's a one-shot series over on that they did a 3-part series on over on the One Shot Network. There's actual plays that are happening right now on other channels also too. You can get the quick start for free on our website. It's linked on the Kickstarter, but go support that crew. It's the largest Kickstarter they've done. It's a huge project. And there's also a great article on the Rascal announcement section that Robbie wrote, breaking down the art that they did for the cover. But you can find most of that linked at ttrpg.link/Hinterlight. So
it's crazy you got ttrpg.link. That's pretty wild, actually.
That is pretty wild. That I was smart enough to go snag a link that I can use for pretty much everything. It's also great when people reach out and are just like, hey, can I like pay you for one of those? I was like, oh, I can make $500 a month. They are free. Here you. I mean, they're not free. Like I have to pay for the service, but like it doesn't cost me anything, and I never make $500 in a month. And so
There you go.
It is, if you ever want a ttrpg.link for your thing, just let me know. But no, I'm super excited to dive into this, but because it's the end of the year, because it's the wrapped season, because even Discord decided to tell me my stats, which I did not ask you to get in my face like that, Discord.
Crazy. I didn't need to know that I made tens of thousands of messages. Hey, like,
are
please.
you in the top 3% of people who send messages on Discord? Yeah, I was like 2.41 or something like that. It's like cool. I'm on here way too much. Great. That's awesome.
I gotta go touch some grass. I'll see you guys later.
Yeah. No one asked you for that, Discord, but we're gonna look back at different things that have kind of come up this year that stood out to each of us. These may be very specific things in the industry. They may be events or things like that happen. They may be overall trends that we've cited. If you have ones that you think are important, we'd love to hear from you about those. I posted a link on Blue Sky. Share them there, because even if we can't talk about them right now, more people knowing about what other people think is interesting that happened this year, overall, I would say is a good thing, and we should do it and talk more about those things. But Rowan, you're our guest, so I want to kind of kick out to you first. What is something as you kind of look back at 2025 that stood out to you as kind of a major beat or flow or event that happened in the tabletop game space?
So one of the things that I noticed that I think I'm really enjoying and I'm seeing, and I think kind of goes in line with the worker-owned movement that is happening with Rascal and other indie journalism outlets, is the collectivization of media. There is also like the conglomeration of media that's happening at the top levels, but the collectivization that's happening kind of at lower levels. Like, I think my specific example that I want to bring up was Many-Sided Media's podcast network expansion.
And do you promise that we're not just going to work through each of your roommates in order? Is that a thing you're gonna commit to?
Yes, I'll commit to that right now. But we could, and listen, and I could do it.
They're all doing really cool things. Is the problem?
Well, the thing is with the podcast network, I get 3 of them in one. Oh, really, 4 of them in one go. So I get them all.
But we're big Many-Sided Media fans also too. So yeah, talk a little bit more about the collectivization of media, and specifically what Many-Sided Media has been up to.
So this actually something we're flashing all the way back to when I was on Talk of the Table, way before Elliot and I were ever roommates. We were talking about actual play and like the future of actual play. And one of my big thoughts, I've been wrong in a lot of my thoughts about actual plays, and I will open up to that really honestly. But I do think the future in a lot of ways is collectivization, is artists kind of coming together to work together to uplift each other in a very like formalized way. And that's been what's happening with the Many-Sided Media Network. They brought in so many shows. They brought in Dice Exploder. They brought in Maya's Game Room. They brought in Dork Spawn. They brought in, I think, 11, 12 shows
that I know of, and I think there may be some more on the horizon also too.
And like, the thing that's so cool about it is like, whenever I think of a show that's making really good, really high quality, like audio actual play, I'm like, oh, okay, now they're a Many-Sided Media show. Great. Awesome. Cool.
Yeah. It's been really wild to see kind of what they've been able to achieve over the course of the last few years, how that's grown, how that's diversified. Like it is. And one of the things I love seeing is when somebody has figured out a good format and has an expertise in something, saying how can I invite other people to this in a way that uplifts them, takes work off their plate and does something more with it, right? I mean, and I think this is, like with Rascal starting, and even thinking about how y'all want to work and grow and move people in, looking at what Many-Sided Media does. Like, even when we have people approach us about distribution or projects all the time, we have to be really clear. Like, we're not looking to be a huge distribution company. We're also very intentional about, we want partnerships that are actually good and life-giving. We're not actually looking to just be one more place that you can drop things, or in product that we don't care about or think reaches, like, has a voice to it, right? And so that leads in very different directions and means that we have to say no to a lot of things in addition to saying yes to a lot of things, right? Like for Brian and Elliot and Chinook and like the whole crew, like they have to think about like what games we want to do, what partnerships we want to engage in. how do those impact not just the shows that we run, but how do they like flow out to other shows, and how are we creating a better platform for everyone? And so many people don't want to go out and solicit solicit sponsorship, and that is one of the main things that they're doing, right, is helping bring in that consistent
Yeah.
sponsorship revenue, ideally to help underwrite everything that's happening.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's something that I think has been really interesting to see this year. Even like I mentioned them earlier, Andrew was in the chat. I think may still be in the chat. Like Infinite Citadel is a group of 3 separate creators who got together and were like, hey, we're all working so closely and in tandem with each other. Like, do we want to form a little bit more of a collective? We've seen co-op conversations become far more common, and more practical in what they're trying to do. I think a lot of times the language of co-op was oftentimes like just like slapped on when there's still very clearly one person in charge who's running pretty much everything. And that's not a slam, right? Or the reverse of that. It was so diffuse that it was like, well, decisions aren't getting made and we don't know how to take action, right?
Yeah.
Now like you talked a little bit about like currently what you're doing is a lot of community organizing. Like I'd love to hear
Yeah.
from you maybe as people are looking at kind of this collectivist model and looking at these collaborations, what are some lessons or some questions you might be encouraging them to be asking themselves?
Yeah. So I think something that I've really like, to be so for real, Rascal has been such a place. Like I have taken so many lessons about communal responsibility and accountability and mutual care from Rascal and brought that into my community organizing, which is nothing I think I could ever say about any other place I've ever worked. Because something you should always be looking at is that like you need to give a shit about the people you're doing the work with just as much as you care about the work that you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Because that passion for the work that you're doing is going to come and fade. Like it's going to ebb and flow. And the one thing that's going to keep you there through those hard times is knowing that there are other people who you care about and love and like to work with that are going to be there to support you when things get hard.
Yeah.
And that's been like the grounding foundation. Like you can have all these radical ideas, you can have all these big beliefs about how you think the world should operate and what kind of art you want to make and what kind of changes you want to see from the world. But if you're not doing that in your interpersonal relationships first, then you're never going to actually be able to sustain that at like an existential theoretical level.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that's a hard question, regardless of your organizational structure, whether you're a solo like creator, whether you are somebody who has an LLC that has multiple partners in it. Like that's such a huge thing to be evaluating in choices you make, because that's just a choice you can make, is to actually say like what we actually care about is the people who work here and the people we're supporting, and that comes first and foremost before anything. Like we'll have people who blow deadlines every once in a while. They're so apologetic. I'm assuming you have a real world thing going on, and they're almost always like, yes, my partner left me, or we are unhoused right now, or I have a day job and this horrible thing happened there that I'm having to do. Great. Like, please go deal with that. Like that is where like you need to take care of you. That's where your primary focus should be. Like when if we have team members who are going through a thing, it's like, there is no question of like, hey, are you still going to get everything done? It's, hey, what can we all take off your plate right now so that you can just go be a human? Do you need groceries? Do you need moving help? Do you need whatever? Like the company can take, like, we'll help you financially. We'll figure out what that looks like later. Right now, we just want you to be okay, because that's all that matters. Like, is that we're able to do that. I think collectivist models allow us to embody that in a totally different way. But I think everyone can actually be looking actively at just saying, how do we care for the people who are right in front of us and right next to us? And it's such an easy thing to do that I think we all intellectually want to, but I think there's also lots of times like there's fear in that a lot of the time also too. Like there is like the, well, what if things fail or don't work, or like, I mean, like even trying to explain to people, because like Zine.Club has actual deadlines. We're not a Kickstarter where it's like, we'll just kick it back a month. Like we have to have extra plans when that happens for, cool, like we have backup projects just set and ready to go. So if somebody blows a deadline, we can slide one in. Like it is literally, and we had to learn to plan for that, but I think it's such a hard thing for people to oftentimes grab onto.
Because I think that's a really important point that I think you just brought up, is like having the systems and infrastructure in place to actually functionally be able to care about people. Because like you said, it's so easy to say and to want to do, but knowing yourself well enough that what you can actually do to show up for people, and knowing the people that you work with well enough to be like, what are they actually going to be able to deliver, and then creating your own infrastructure. You don't have to take infrastructure from other models. The good thing about collectivist work is you get to be like, oh, I know you and I know how you work.
Yeah.
So we can build something that works for us.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, telling a team member, we just brought Quinn Blackwell on staff in a different role. They had been working in the warehouse when we were shipping 9,000 copies of Mythic Bastion Land. As we slowed down, we really loved having Quinn on team. It made more sense to move to a different role. So they started helping out with production and are helping organize all of the actual play, the interviews we do, all those different pieces. And it's been a really great transition, but it was because like we got into a relationship where we were like, we know how Quinn works. So we know that that's going to be a huge asset to the team. Quinn's also super aware of their own limitations and need and is able to articulate those and really, really clearly also too, which is tremendously helpful. But like we were having a one-on-one last week and I was like, yeah, here's the goal we need to get to now that we're kind of past the initial like onboarding for you, is we need to get this far out in content. I said, and the worst part is the person you have to wrangle with that is me, and I'm the worst person on staff to have to wrangle. I was like, so you need to feel comfortable holding my feet to the fire and making me be accountable to you. And I said, we have to figure out that process, because there's not a lack of willingness, but I also know myself well enough to be like, that is going to be the biggest headache you have. And I'll be infinitely apologetic to it until we get in the flow of everything working right, because it's one of the things where it's like, oh, Tony would have historically done all this, but it would have lived in Tony's brain. And when Tony is all of a sudden immobilized for 3 weeks, like I was 18 months ago, right, with my back stuff, then all of a sudden that's just gone, right? And what do we do in that situation? So it is having those real conversations, having that self-knowledge, having that ability to do all those things, and failing at it also, like not doing it right, and having the wherewithal to be survivable in that. But I think
having room for failure and grace for like fucking up and being like, oh, you're gonna fuck up, I'm gonna fuck up, we're gonna hurt each other, but we care about each other enough that we're gonna talk through that and figure out a way past it and not harm each other intentionally and in ways that are irreparable, and knowing that we all have the capacity to mess up, and that the actual important part of a relationship is when you can get past that and grow through it.
Yeah. No, I think it's so important. I think there's so much you can lurk there. I also think it's really clear if you listen. I think it's clear in Talk of the Table, but it's an interview show, so it comes across somewhat. But if you listen to my first dungeon, I think, just taking it back to the many-sided media, like I think it is clear the affinity and care that the people who sit at that table consistently have for each other, even though there's rotating cast, even though there are different players. If you once you've listened to 2 or 3 of the seasons, it gets really clear about the care that they have for each other, not just in play, but how that probably branches out into normal life and is a reflection of that. So if you haven't checked out my first dungeon, like you can go listen to Talk of the Table, you can go listen to any of the shows on the network. But if you want to see, I think, a real clear incarnation of the type of care that showed, I think it is pretty on display in a number of seasons of my first dungeon as they go through, as you see them work through things at a table, and especially during the talkback sessions too. So
I think I know how much she loves this. I'm going to jump scare Dr. Emily Friedman. She says this thing that really has lived in my brain, and I think applies to actual play. It applies to organizing. It applies to collectives. It's that like the best safety tools are not actual safety tools. It is knowing the people at your table and actually caring about each other. I got you.
Well, let's I was going to pivot somewhere else, but since we're already embarrassing Dr. Emily Friedman, games academic, who we do mention on Intrepid Merchants regularly. We did last month, specifically when we were talking about actual play. I want to talk about the work that Emily has done this year, specifically in the Auburn Liberal Arts games conversation series that they hosted this summer. I think this is something that we are going to want to pay attention to going into 2026. There's some other stuff that we could talk about from like that bore fruit this year, which would be like the number of fantasy heartbreakers that came out of the OGL debacle, like the actually making it to print. Like there were a ton of those this year. Maybe we come back and touch on that in a minute. But I think if we're looking at 2025 and some of the conversations that were being had, that I think as we go into 2026 are going to be really important. Emily hosted this gathering of a bunch of different people from games. I know that Jay was there, Matt Mercer was there, all kinds of people from actual play, game design, and a whole spectrum of tabletop RPG and games field came together for conversations, wrote things, gave talks, did a lot of work on things, and got to play 7-Part Pact, I think, also too, most importantly. I think this is such. Did you come, Emily? You cannot actually drop links in the chat. I will do it for you because I did ask you for the link right ahead of time. But yeah, it was such a cool thing to see. I wasn't there. And here's the thing. This is something I don't know exactly what happened. Like I've read through some of the stuff, I've listened to some of the talks. I want to use it to really kind of highlight, I think, conversations that I have been a part of that M has had with people around me or hosted in this format, where I think there's a lot of conversations happening around the interaction of tabletop RPGs and culture right now, which are largely mediated through actual play. Rowan, I know something that you personally hate.
Hate it.
Yeah, and it's such an important conversation, and I think there's a lot of people who struggle to find their place in this conversation. But I think it's one of the things that the work that Dr. Emily Friedman is doing is going to be incredibly important in 2026 and beyond, in breaking open conversations around table culture, structures of play, and other elements in some really important ways. We'll come back to what I think it's going to do in the future, but we are seeing this kind of drive forward. And I'm going to use this as a way to pivot into one of your things also too, because you had one that paired up really well to this. People are ready to actually do critique about games and gameplay and actual play. And we have not historically seen that in the industry. People have been looking for marketing. They've been looking for people to talk well about their things and say how much they love it. But real critique, real honest critique that is not being mean for mean's sake or being like, I didn't like it and I don't know how to just say I didn't like a thing, but is really enthusiastically evaluating the work in front of us, has reached kind of a new place. And I do think that M has really helped to lead the charge in helping break some of those conversations open and create space for them, especially. But you were the one who also brought up, like, so M's work is one of my things that happened in 2025 that I think people just need to be paying closer attention to. You brought up specifically the component about critique, though, in our pre-notes thing. So talk to me a little bit about what you're seeing as far as people being open to critique in a new way.
I think maybe open isn't necessarily the right word. I think there is still strong reactions to critique that is not entirely enthusiastic, but I think a craving is a good word for it. From a lot of creators and a lot of actual play, there is a lot of peer critique that is happening, a lot of peer criticism that is happening. And critique and criticism, again, distinct things. A critique is like judging the merits of a piece of art or a product based on those things. And then criticism is taking the piece of art and the object in the context of the larger culture. And yeah, exactly. Folks want to do it. Folks want to read and see it. And whether folks want to be the object of it is the real distinction, because we have this really difficult space that we're in, where we're in this line where people are professionalizing, but it's still people's hobby or their second job or their passion project. And this desire to like bare your soul and have this baby that you made in your spare time be torn apart, that you're not actually making any money on, or that you have made a bunch of money on, but it is a direct reflection of you. Like, I think like a good example is I think we can start with a timeline here. We started off the year with Chase writing that big article that journalism is not like publicity.
Right.
And people had like a really big reaction to that. People really felt strongly negative and felt like Chase was condescending to them, but it was really just a true reflection of the state of what games media had been prior to this year, where so much games media, especially from larger outlets, is just publicity, is just like, here is a thing that is happening, here are the big names that are happening, we have to drive SEO to it, because that is just the model in which journalism existed under.
Which meant beyond just being marketing, it was also a lot of listicles, which none of us were particularly interested in, but also pay the bills, baby. Like,
Yeah,
those
I
affiliate
wrote
links
so
do,
many
do
listicles
something.
in my 3 months.
So, but no, I think that's huge. I mean, even when we had Chase come on, when Chase was still at when Dicebreaker existed, Rip Dicebreaker, and talk about it, then it was upsetting for people, right? When we did an interview with Chase on the channel, people get upset by it because it does feel like, oh, I'm out here trying to eat, and you're telling me there's this whole other weird layer of stuff I have to think about. And the answer is actually like, no, you don't. Like, I mean, you can, like I do, like lots of people, but like you don't. You can just make your thing and sell your thing. A lot of people do it. Like it is fine and good and wonderful. Yeah. But you may have somebody pick up your thing and want to play it online, and all of a sudden there's a conversation around it, right? There's a reflection that's happening just through the course of their play, or there's somebody who might be intending to do critique that is going to pick it up and tell you things that you may realize about it and not want to hear, or that you may not realize about the thing that you make, like because you're so close to it. For me this year was also a big like, can we all just be more curious here, right? Like people are very quick to actually provide criticism of things they don't like in indie RPGs, and they are very reticent to hear critique of their own work, but happy to hear it from others. And it's really interesting to kind of watch the interplays of those things. But I do feel like we got to a point this year, like Idle Cartabulary, Nova just dropped a review of Chainlink, which is a game we put out earlier this year with Ethan Yin. It's tremendous. It is great critique. At no point in the middle of that am I like, oh, is any of this inaccurate? No. I had a lot of these same thoughts the first time I read through it. And some are about structure, but they're also at the end very clear about what they loved about it and what really spoke to them about it, right? What the voice of the work was actually saying to them as an individual. And to me, I love seeing the very transparently, here are things I would do differently. Here are things I would think about, right? Like, I think that's such a huge learning moment for a small creator. And if we can just be curious about what other people thought about the work that we did, or why they think that they feel that way, like it becomes a lot more illuminating for all of us within the space when we can approach those things with open curiosity as opposed to like sensitivity or hostility.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Andrew's just right in there. I think Moulin Rouge has a really great point about like critique, like being curious about the art of our peers. But the thing that I laughed at is Andrew, because Andrew, I just need you to know how nervous I was writing that piece about Battle School. Because there is so much about Battle School that I liked the concept of it, but there was something that like I really wanted to critique about it, and it offered me a lens to be able to do that through. My big critique of Battle School, for anyone who hasn't read the article, was that it made a statement about what kind of game it was, and I didn't feel that that was reflected in the text of the game. And it was really a difficult piece for me to write because I didn't want to be mean, but also that was my job and is my job as a journalist and as a critic to be able to kind of navigate those things.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad, Andrew. I really appreciate that you've been such a good
Rowan was a
about
gentle first is a thing that's written in chat right now, which is such a great line.
And I think it's so fair that you had to tell your friends to chill, because I understand why people wanted to be so defensive, but I also appreciate you telling them to chill because we need to curate a culture, because that is a thing about artistic criticism in general, is that is just a thing that needs for a medium to be taken seriously, for an artistic school to grow and flourish and then schism out into different like lineages, is that they need to be critiqued and they need to be examined as serious works of art that aren't just like kind of coddled and talked down to, because TTRPGs and actual plays are real art and deserve to be treated as such.
Yeah. And I will say this, and even within the context of this, which which I wasn't planning on us talking about this, but like we need to be open to critique, period, about our art, about our business practices, about everything else. Like there's a Rascal
Mm.
article you can go read about me right now, if you want to. That is me being open to personal critique, right? About a series of events we went through. It's over on the Rascal website. You can go check it out. But like as an industry, we need to be here for that. And I think it was one of the things like when I was sharing that article, people were like, you seem like this is a triumphant thing. I was like, there's a certain degree to which it is because I've wanted this story to be out there, but also like it was telling that people didn't understand like when you are open to being accountable and having hard things brought to you, that looks different. And that doesn't look like hiding or like diverting or other things like that. You just run at the thing and you say, here is the thing, and you are okay with what you can be okay with, and you sit with the hard things that are hard to sit with, right? And you try to learn from things. And so like it is something as an industry to mature. We have to be better about it for our own art, but we also have to be better about it just for ourselves and our practice. And so like there is a reality that I think we're seeing a lot more of that come to the surface in specific types of ways. And again, creators getting more accustomed to the fact that it exists, but also I think journalists and reviewers and other people knowing how to talk about the type of content they do, which I think is also really important. And that's again, I think M is giving language to how we talk about actual play and how we talk about some other types of play in ways that I think are really important because that language doesn't universally exist still. So it's very easy to misinterpret what we are trying to do or what we are communicating. And the more we can get codified language around it, then there are things that are lost when you start to codify that language, right? I'm not going to pretend like you don't lose some of the ineffability of it when you can start to dissect things intentionally. And I think there's a need in art to hold on to, let me just experience the thing for a minute before I try to put it into words. But I also I think it's important to have that strata of information that we can all consistently come back to. And Rowan, you have done some of that work also too. So like I don't want to like cast off that it is just within the academic space. I think academic codification is a type of codification. I don't think it's the only type. I don't even think it's always the most helpful type.
But I think it's also important to flag that like Em and I, especially during the early days of my criticism work, we still talk all the time, but we would have these really heady conversations about actual play like on a daily basis. And we were like Em would have these ideas and I would kind of bounce them back. And then Em and I had a lot of strong disagreements about Discord stats are receipts. Em is the single most person
That's why you were over 2%.
Yeah, like that is a very real thing, is like we had been working in tandem, kind of develop this, and I had been able to help soundboard some of the best ideas that I've seen M kind of work through, and being able to be even a part of that process has been such a privilege and an honor.
Yeah. Single Station brings up a good point in the chat, which is a contrary thought. It should also be okay for some artists to decide that they're not the audience for critique of their work. I think that is true. I think that is often don't read the reviews then. Like, and that's not a, I will say like some person on Blue Sky trying to tell somebody what they think about a game and then saying, I'm just doing critique. Fuck off. Like go start a blog, go start a channel. Like there is someone who shall remain nameless on Blue Sky overuses the term microblogging platform in a way that is ridiculous to me. But like I think, and I do think there is a big difference at which we should push back against like armchair critique that is uninvited. I do think there's a level at which there are times I will not read reviews. There are platforms I won't look at because I don't value the critiquing, the input they have as people who are doing critique for whatever reason, right? They don't review the type of games I like. The way they do it is not actually critique. There's all kinds of things within that. And I also think the opportunity is there to say like, I want to make something on a small scale that isn't actually for broad consumption. I think there are a lot of ways you can do that, but I think the easiest way to do that is to say, I don't do it. And you don't have to encourage people to do critique of your work. You can make public statements asking people to not do it. I think those are all valid things. And I think people should respect when creators actually do make those requests. Because the reality is, cool, go to the next thing. Right? Like, go to the next thing if this person doesn't want that. But I also think the number one way to do it is, I'm not going to read that thing they wrote about me.
And doubly important, I think something you said, like knowing to not go to certain reviewers, knowing not to go to certain platforms, knowing who the author of the criticism or critique is, and knowing whether you agree with them or you don't agree with them. You don't have to agree with them or not agree with them. You just have to know that they're coming at it from their perspective. Like, I live with people who love watching videos of video essayists that they do not agree with, because they're like, I want to know what you're going to say about this.
Right.
If you don't like something, I'm probably going to love it. And if you like something, I'm probably going to hate it. And I think that is so important to know when you're approaching a review.
Yeah. I think it's super valuable, but it has been really nice to see. And again, I think the more the conversation matures, the easier it is for everyone to engage in healthy, like, critique, without it being as triggering. Though I think always the first time you get something and first time somebody has a thing to say about, or this happens in the reviews of your game on your itch page, right? This isn't something you have to go looking for. And sometimes it's just like 2-star and you're like, what is, and no comment. Like, just like, I didn't like this, and it's like, well, I don't know. That's actually not helpful for me at all. Like,
why are you charging me $20 for a PDF?
Yeah, because work has value. But yeah, so there's a lot of those things that come into it. But again, I love that we are starting to see the groundwork for that come up in more intentional ways. And I really love seeing that. But I do think to Michael's point, like, I think we have to create healthy lines and boundaries around those things to, like, for individuals, and help individuals navigate what that looks like, and how they potentially express, hey, am I looking for this or not, from a reviewer. But I think, yeah, for me, at the end of the day, like, somebody may just pick up your thing and be like, oh, I think I'm being helpful because this is oftentimes a thing people want. Or here's the other thing. Go use the announcements function on Rascal to share how great your game is.
Because you know what? People can leave comments on it. You don't have to read them.
Yeah. I love it. We're going to talk about some of what I think is coming out of that in a little bit. I want to keep on rolling forward. But if you haven't checked out M's work, please go do. We're going to talk about him in a second. But now that my brain is totally blank.
You got it. No, I believe in you.
I don't have it. Did the thing about Clayton. Clayton just did a thing on Critmas, which is about engaging people and commenting on their work and telling them what you like about it. And, like, just did a Critmas post that I thought was really, really excellent. And so let's talk a little bit about let's talk about awards.
More, Tony. Yeah, just throw some minds
small
out there.
Small little things. No, something that happened this year that is rare is we had a judge for the Ennies who really kind of pulled back the curtain on what their experience was like. I honestly think, for the first time ever publicly in the history of the Ennies, maybe there has been a video essay or an interview or a blog post somewhere here or there. Clayton Nostein, who you can go check out, the Explorer Design blog, did a really long, I think it was 4 or 5 part deep dive into awards shows, what they do and why they matters. And I think, building on critique, this is just kind of a natural kind of place to go, is that next level of, like, winning awards. Do awards work? Why do awards matter? I can tell you, as somebody who has won awards as a publishing house, right, and has been nominated for awards as a publishing house, they kind of increase sales, and they can increase sales, like, if you get a gold and it's in a very, like, marketable platform. I think if you get product game of the year or a couple other things, like, from the Ennies, you're going to see an increase in sales. If you get anything else, it's not, outside of Gen Con specifically, and some retailers, it doesn't move the needle like a Quinn's Quest review
Which, going back to that, we need more than one person doing those big reviews.
We do need more than one person who everyone loves doing those reviews, driving thousands and thousands of sales into a small little Philadelphia-based warehouse, and one in the UK also too. But the reality is, when we build off of critique, awards is another big thing. Like, and this is what really actually got me thinking about the, like, we have to be more curious thing. Mythic Bastionland, and I think I've talked about this publicly, but I mean, so we're the U.S. distributor for Mythic Bastionlands. Like, Chris is the creator, like an amazing partner. We're incredibly grateful to. Other than shipping them out, we don't actually, like, we cannot take any kind of credit for anything Mythic Bastionland related. Like, it's all Chris's baby and brainchild. It won best layout. There were people who did not like that. And even when I heard it was nominated for best layout, I was like, oh, that's really interesting, because the layout seems standard. And like, Triangle Agency has amazing layout and is doing some things with digital layering that is incredibly interesting and like is kind of next level creative, and that lots of people don't even realize is happening. It feels like that should be on the list, and it's not, right? Like, Johan got nominated also. Chris won best layout, right? Like, it was surprising to him, it was surprising to us. But even before Chris won best layout, people would come up to the booth to get Mythic Bastionland, and they would specifically comment about why they loved about the fact that they loved the layout. And I was like, cool. And I just started asking people, like, what do you love about it? What is it doing for you? And the answer was consistently, it does something for me at the table that no other game has done. Every time I go to look for the information, it's exactly where I want it to be. And it's so easy to run the game out of the book. It's the information design part of thing in play that was what was winning for Mythic Bastionland specifically. And it wasn't just, oh, it got an award and now I need to come up with a reason. This is when it had been nominated, and it got nominated for reasons. And Clay is a layout person and was one of the judges, right? So like, was able to speak to what does layout look like, mean, and do, right? So like, there was just a need to be curious. But I've heard so many sour grape podcasts complaining about not just that, but like about Mythic Bastionland winning specifically. I've heard a couple and other things where it's just like, and it's oftentimes my thing should have won, this other thing won. The innies are bad unless I'm winning. Like,
listen, I actually have the correct take that there's actually one thing better than winning an award, and it is being robbed for an award.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, it is wild to see some of the conversations that have come up. And here's the thing. Sometimes people will be like, well, I'm great at graphic design. I do corporate graphic design. Cool. Corporate graphic design isn't RPG design. Or, hey, I do layout for books all year long. Cool. A reading book is not like an RPG book. Like, you'll hear these different things of like, I do X, Y, Z, Y, and it's always within the lens of my stuff should get more recognition.
Yeah,
One,
for sure.
That's not what awards are. Like, at the end of the day, it's just not. Like, it is not, none of that. Like, we were even talking about people in any awards, just submissions just opened. So people are like, should I submit my thing? Somebody's like, the worst they can say is no. I'm like, they're not even going to say no. Like, not getting nominated is not no. It's not your thing was bad. It's not anything else. It is just that there are thousands of things that these judges get sent, and they have a few months to evaluate them in. Like, I cannot even imagine what it is like to be an Ennies judge or any kind of judge. Even the stuff that we do internally, like when we were doing the Appendix N Jam this year, we intentionally broke up the content to make the lightest load on judges possible while still getting general consensus to be able to be had. Like, not everybody read everything. We set criteria to judge things by. I would have loved to have double overlap, but like, we didn't do that, and that's fine. The awards that Nico runs, the reality is, like, they read a certain number of pages and that's it. They're not going to read your 300-page book. They are going to read a set number of pages, and they only have to read a certain amount before they can stop. And they're only asked to read up to a certain amount to keep their plates clear. Yeah. Like, these are all good and reasonable things and are all different types of judges. But Clay really broke open this conversation in some really good ways. So Chad, if you have ideas, but Rowan, like, what are your thoughts around kind of what we saw in the conversation around awards this year?
So I have been involved in two major awards. One is one that I helped found with my former nonprofit. I helped found a literary nonprofit called Right Hive, which is a virtual convention for marginalized writers to help give workshops, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Very cool organization. I stepped down from being CEO after 2 years. They still do incredible work. They still run this, called the Indie Inked Awards, which is an indie award show for indie published, self-published books. Determining criteria for that is so difficult, and asking people to consume that amount of media on a small stipend or volunteer basis is so difficult. And subjective taste is so hard to quantify. And deciding who gets to be an authority and who is not enough of an authority to not be a judge is so hard. And that brings me to like the second one, which is I'm a judge for the New Jersey Web Fest. Ned Donovan has spoken to me extensively about the ways he has tried to meticulously design the judging process and the points enumeration process. And it is the most painstaking thing when you really care about trying to judge something, both on the quality of the final output, but also in consideration of this industry, which like TTRPGs, but even more in actual play, is it's such a resource-based thing. Like, people come at this with different skills, people come at this with different amounts of money, and you have to, what Ned had talked about a lot is trying to balance this idea of the quality of the thing and the potential of the thing if they had the same amount of resources and money as maybe someone else. And so my answer to awards is I've been very vocal in public about the fact that I don't think awards really mean anything, because I think awards in so many ways just reinforce kind of a status quo. They're like the people with the money and time to be able to produce something good and get the skills and the study to be able to make something good, they will be rewarded.
And there's a reason that people stopped clapping for Free League by the end of the night.
Literally, yeah.
And it's not because there's no shit on any Free League's games. They're all good. But when you're getting your 14th award for the night, people aren't excited for you anymore.
Everyone's like, oh, wait, you're a giant publication company that has a bunch of money and staff and people who are able to be paid a living wage to do this? Yeah, of course you're going to win.
Like, and good. Like, this is like, go support Free League. This is not a whatever. But it's also, when you get to the voting portion of things, like they are able to get nominated because they can hit that threshold. And then when they get to voting, people who know Free League games are going to vote Free League, Free League, Free League, Free League, Free League, all the way down, because they know them. And that's normal, right? Like,
Yeah.
whether it's popularity contest, whether it's judges, whether it's all those different things. And again, I can tell you that historically that was one of the major movers in sales. The social endorsement of individuals has started to significantly trump that. Working with actual play people, getting people to see your game being played and people having fun doing your game. I would say, if you were like, can I mount an Innies campaign, or can I get like 3 people who may have only a couple followers on their channel to play my game, man, go celebrate those couple people playing your game and support them to your hearts, like, as much as you can. Because here's the other thing, like, you can grow their channel, but people knowing your game is being played and getting to see people have fun doing it will make people go, I want that. I want to do that. This is for me. This is the thing. Them seeing it won an award, unless they are a game store, that is part of their buying behavior, which is less and less nowadays. Like, it doesn't matter, because even game stores are looking to say, can I see this get played somewhere, or how does this play, and can I tell my customers about it? Is it going to be fun? So like, I think Clay's total conversation about diversifying awards and looking specifically and intentionally what we want awards to do is something that anyone running awards should look at. I also think Clay's end of year encouragement to be like, and this is Nate Trim does some of the best work of this also with their little sweetie awards, which I haven't seen them do in a while. And they bring those little sweeties back. Like, just saying like, hey, I'm going to give out awards to a bunch of my friends' games. They're just the award I give people. Like, here's what I judge it based on. And it could just be like, this is the thing I had the most fun doing this year. I've loved seeing people be like, we're not going to engage in Spotify's end of year Wrapped. Here's my end of year RPG Wrapped. Here's the games I love playing the most. Here's the games I didn't get to the table. Here's the ones I want to play next year. Like those types of things are way more motivating for me as a publisher, right? And as a designer than like winning innings. I love winning innings. Winning an inning is great. It's such a black box for the most part. And so thinking about it more broadly is something I think is really important.
I think it also breaks
Meat
down
Castle in the chat. You do need to do your little award again. It is fun. I'll buy the zine again.
Do it, and you should do it. I think also like stuff like that really breaks down the facade of it all. It breaks down the facade of authority that like everyone has issues with every award show. Everyone hates the Oscars. Like, come on. So
Yeah.
you can just be like, no, these are my personal awards because this is my subjective opinion, just like every award show is everyone's subjective opinion.
So last thing for 2025, then we'll pivot into some shorter future looking reflections.
There we go.
You have on your list of things to talk about, which connects to a couple of things on mine. Games that deal with politics and organizing and the reaction of the current moment to games. This is very close to our hearts. If you have not been to ttrpg.link/make moves jam yet, take a look at that because that's kind of what we're talking about going forward. But also the two of the things I had on my list to highlight were, or actually there's I think maybe even three in here, but at least the suppression of adult and queer content on itch is impacted by this, and the fucking nightmare of tariffs. But I think those are very obvious industry level things, and I think what you're also aiming at in this conversation is actually probably something more personal also.
Yeah. I think there's really obviously the big level like overarching systemic stuff that's happening. But then when it trickles down into the personal, when you're like, "Oh god, yeah, the horrors of daily life are really impacting me in such a way, and now I need to make art about the way this is feeling," or conversely, I can't make art because I have to survive and I have to work a full-time job and I can't do this. I have to work multiple jobs and I have to pay rent and my healthcare subsidies are doubling in price. Like there's all of these things that are making it impossible to make art. But then the art that is getting made in so many ways that is not just like kind of leaning into a trend, that is not trying to capture SEO. The art that I'm seeing that's really personal or really like reflective of this moment is art where people are grappling with these really difficult things and like trying to both like look towards an optimistic future and also like deal with the current destruction. I swore I wouldn't do this, but The Time We Have by Elliot Davis.
Look, as long as you don't support, I supported Dylan, so I took care of that one. Like, right. So like we've still got a couple, as long as you don't mention a land once magic, I think we're okay. I think we're okay as long as we don't mention a land once magic. Yes, well, like, but talk about The Time We Have by Elliot Davis.
The Time We Have by Elliot Davis is about two brothers who are like going through the end stages of one of them dying of becoming a zombie. Like that is such a deeply emotionally fucked up game. And then like on the other side of the spectrum, you have like people have a lot of feelings about it. There's a lot of stuff going on with it, but Mad as Hell is a game literally about like the evils of capitalism kind of attacking people. I played this game at PAX that was sponsored by the Working Families Party about like organizing your community in a mutual aid fashion to fight against like corporations overtaking your town. It was called Dice by Democracy or Democracy by Dice. Like this is a game that is a direct reflection of like how do we use games to process and prepare for the reality that we're facing in both a reactive and proactive way. And I think we're going to keep seeing that more and more. One of the games I wrote about like really early this year, or even maybe the end of last year, was 1984 or 2084. It is a like asymmetrical GM-less system where one player is playing as Big Brother and the rest of the players are playing as like revolutionaries, but you're not going to win. You're like doomed to fail. And the only way you can actually have revolution is by having these like small interactions and moments of love with the other players. And then you see it like I think like the play to die of like Morkborg and like OSR, like that's a huge thing that's really having a moment right now
Mhm.
where you're like, you're gonna die. Have fun with it.
Yeah. I mean, even the what is it? Was it it was on Game Found, and I'm so mad. It was like, you will not escape this place, or you will not survive this place.
Oh, you will die in this
You will die in
place.
this place. Thank you. I was so close. It's so good. Like
Yeah.
such a great design articulation that I know people will sit in and play with and be like, but I don't want to do this. And it's like, but that's the game. Like that,
Yeah.
that is the game is telling you what it's about, and you can do whatever you want to do. You can decide to not follow that impulse, but then like we have to be able, like, this part of it is learning to sit in that space and find moments of contentment, and there can be really beautiful moments in that can create real resiliency. Yeah, I think there are a lot of ways this can happen, and there's a thing that it touches on for one of my like 2026 things, but it is kind of a reaction to, like, I've loved this year hearing the bakers on Dicebreaker specifically talk about the evolution of the conversation that they're having through Apocalypse World, and the type of conversations that they want to have based not only on what's happening in the world, but also just what's happening in their living room. And those two things kind of held in tension with each other of this is what's happening in the world, and that matters. But also, here are the people who are wanting to play our game right now, and they are teenagers and young people who we care about, and that's a different game than the adults, and we still want them to learn the lessons about this right here in this space is such a powerful thing that games can do. I was listening to Mark Truma was just on the Rule of Three with that is the Bastionland podcast's current incarnation, where Chris gets people on and has them talk about the 3 games that influence them. It's a really cool thing, but was talking about Steal Away Jordan, which I don't know if you're familiar with this game or not, but it's about being a slave in the antebellum South, right? And it was really interesting to hear Mark's reflections on like trying to find their own voice as a Latino person in the games that they're designing, and how that's clearly articulated, but also like the games that people might assume, like Cartel, that are the saddest and most devastating, are oftentimes not at the table as to some of the other games that Mark have designed that are able to help them articulate and hone that in entirely different ways. And so I think we oftentimes are like, people are very comfortable with the shitpost game, right? Which is, it has a lot of value, right? Like I early on was very like, I don't really like shitpost games. And some of the times I'm still like, I still don't understand the point of this, but when the shitpost game is something that is about commentary on what's happening in our life, it takes on a different kind of level of like, hey, there is cognitive dissonance here, but we are actually doing real commentary on this moment in our lived reality in a way that we can't in other more serious, like we may not be able to handle the pain of a more serious style of design right now.
Yeah.
I think people thinking about how they bite off chunks of this is also really important. Like, there's always a tendency to want to design the big game, right? Like, and I think that's good, but it also figuring out how we have small and direct conversations around these things, trying to figure out how we sit around the table and create those stakes. I think it asks a lot more, and we are oftentimes in the mode of discovering what parts of tabletop culture actually do that well right now, and what parts of tabletop culture don't do that as well as we necessarily thought they did.
Yeah. We're in this I think with shitpost games, my brain kind of clicked onto that for a second, is we're in this like neo Dadaist movement where people are just making games that are the equivalent of a urinal upside down, and they're like, look at it, what does it make you feel?
Right. Yeah. And that, like, for us, like I mean, we could talk about like we like right now, like our incarnation of that, which this is like arguably not the most helpful thing we're doing, but isn't like, we decided, hey, our porn game's getting delisted on itch, like, cool. We just did a reprint of Sweatgasm with Silver Sprocket. Like, we're talking to Shrong and some other folks about very adult content games already as part of publishing catalog. And what does that mean, and what does that look like? So the conversation was like, cool, do some of these games need saving? Like, I mean, like Praise Hawk Mothman getting taken down was a big deal. And if we were the publisher, which we're not, because they do have a good publishing partner who's also Philadelphia based, like we would have just moved that over to our website and been like, let's keep on rocking and rolling, right? Like Sage has made such a great articulate thing that is now very hard to share. And so I call it +1 3XP because Keegan hates it. Keegan Keegan is upset every time I say +1 3XP. That's XXXP in case anybody is not decoding the verbal whatever. But also my fun thing is you could just flip the E around and it would be a 3. And like here's the thing, I'm just saying. But we have a number of of adult games that we were looking at, and like somebody came up at PAX and was like, "Oh, my game got delisted on it, so I just printed out 200 copies." I'm like, "Yeah, do you want us to distribute these for you? Like, because we absolutely will." And
yeah.
so, like, the reality is, like, we have to look at again, like, both within our design and within our play, within everything else, how we're engaging in intentional acts of resistance against like these horrible things, but also how we're engaging in intentional acts of reflection, right? Like of thinking about these things more intentionally. One of Mark's points that I thought was really great is right now we all kind of shy away from the uncomfortable game. It is very common, and me as a person of privilege, like more than probably any other group. Am I supposed to play Dungeon Bitches, or am I just supposed to read it and appreciate it? Right? How am I supposed to engage with Girl Frame? Like how like when it comes to a sex game, right? Like people like me have heard a lot of people like around, and so like it is just think like it can feel very crippling, and don't feel bad for the straight cis white dude. Like the reality is like yes we should with conversation, permission, and community be engaging and playing in these games to explore these themes and create empathy. We shouldn't be co-opting them as our own thing in our own space, but we should be doing that in concert of invitation with people, because games are a great way to explore those things and to do it. Like you, even in your article about the January 6th thing, like you caught a decent amount of flack for your participation and play of that game. Like this, it's a year later, right? Like, I'm so glad you played it and wrote that article. Other people really wanted you to do a different thing. What do you have any more thoughts about that a year later?
Yeah, wow. I've thought about it quite a lot in the last year. They just did a Kickstarter and they're fulfilling the Kickstarter for the war game. They have been shipping out minis, just in case you wanted to know. I have thought a lot about it in the last year. And what it's made me really think about, and is I think honestly part of what made me need to step back from writing about games is that a lot of people think about games as this like theoretical exercise, and they think about it as this opportunity to explore this wild crazy thing. And those people are like the people of privilege, of people who would never have had to experience those difficult things. And then you confront it like in the piece I wrote about, like I was very involved in the Black Lives Matter protests in 2020, and like the reality of staring down an army of fascists and the moving pieces around on a board, there's a difference, there's a cognitive dissonance there that happens. And like now as I'm like watching like those same people that were characterized in this game, who got pardoned, who are now getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to come to my city and kidnap my neighbors, there's something that's just so cognitively dissonant. You can't just like, I'm making art to have a conversation.
Yeah.
I don't really know if I have an end thought for that.
That's a great end thought.
Yeah.
So like you can't just be like saying like, oh, like I'm just playing around in this theoretical thought bubble when it's the real stuff of people's lives. I think is a great stopping point, right? Like it is one of those things where it is why there is that pause, I think, a lot of time for people, and it is realistic, but it is like one, you can have the conversation without the experience of play, right? Like you do not have to gamify something. You can also do it, but the question is like what like if the intent is, well, we just hoping people explore this space. If this space is bad,
Yeah.
why are we exploring it? Like I don't need, not in an ignorant way, but I don't need to know the fuller shape of bad shit. Like
Yeah.
I could just look at it and create a boundary and be like, that is bad shit over there.
Yeah, and I do think there is value in going into these dark places, but I think that is what the beauty of abstraction does. Like you can abstract those horrors and live in that terror and get yourself acclimated to it. Like I am definitely able to confront the horrors of the world outside my door because I have played in the theoretical horrors that are fake, that are happening to a person that is not me, in a place that feels real, but I know that I am safe.
mhm.
And so, having built up that muscle, having built those emotional calluses to then bring that into the real world, there is real value in that for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. No, I love that. Tariffs suck.
And they do.
Some other big things. Over under was amazing. We talked about over under with Jeff last month. If you want to see thoughts on that, you didn't participate in over under, correct? Lynn was a boss,
I didn't have time
but
for
like
a month. I talked to Sam about it a bunch though.
yeah,
I love talking to Sam about over under because
I
what he thought was gonna happen and what happened, not it.
it was so funny when people were like making assumptions about what Sam was doing. I was like, I know Sam Sorensen. He is not doing any of those things. No, I think the whole thing was it was an amazing experience on so many levels. We still hope to have some follow up. Sam's on board. I want to do like a 3-part like interview kind of re-encapsulation. I was hoping to do it this month, but it's just not going to happen. But like I have loved watching people who are experiencing that type of role play because like Gaia on like online has existed. Like there have been RPG forums like this for a long time where it's just free form play. It was cool to see the directions that came in. One of my favorite questions, you don't have to answer it, was were you playing Mothership, is one of my favorite questions to ask people who were playing. And I don't care what the answer is. Like totally valid no matter what. But I think it was such a cultural moment, and even like projects we have planned for the future, people are like, oh, a little over under. I'm like, we've been planning this since before that, but yes, sure, because if you're excited about over under, I'm happy to sell you that.
About this project, I'm so hyped for it.
Yeah. So let's shift to talking in the last few minutes about 2026. I've got a couple of predictions because I want to end on the thing that you are excited about. So I'm gonna roll through a couple things and would love just to hear your thoughts. This Andrew's messaging me over on Discord. Oh, it's a banger quote apparently that I had.
And it really was.
I don't remember what it was. I'll go watch the clip later. It's fine. So my big ones are kind of pulling off of where we're at right now. My first one is I'm really excited, and this is going to sound so dumb to some of you. It is, but I'm really excited to see more and more designers realizing that design is both a conversation and a part of reflection. And I think we're going to see more and more of that in 2026. I think people are starting to wake up to hacking something is not sufficient if I'm not trying to do something. And that something can be very small, but ideally it adds your voice to it and is a reflection on something and not just another form of shovelware. Is this going to hit the Borgs real deeply sometime soon? Maybe not, but there are plenty of really reflective, evocative Borg games also too. Like I think Chris Bissett writes in a way that is soulful and evocative, even when they're doing Morkborg work. So like I think that space is equally valid. I will just throw it out as one I think is a little bit more immune to deep reflection than some other ones. But I don't think it has to be. But I specifically, this is like, we're doing the Make Moves Jam right now. I will talk about it a little bit. And the whole thing is making a single PBTA move. It can be for an existing game, a non-existing game. This is weird to people. It can be a totally standalone move that is just a thing that you're intended to do. A thing even in your personal life. Do what?
Some freak shit.
Yeah, some freak shit. And so we put together a zine that is free digitally, or you can buy for $10 by Aaron King, that highlights some of these. We're doing a year-long intentional set of interviews with people about this, but we're just inviting people in the community to join us for a game jam this year, and not to make a dungeon room every day or draw a part of a city every day, which are cool things, but just at some point this year, do some introspection and make a weird, freaky move that kind of reflects on your lived experience, or just one that you think should exist. We're gonna do a whole series on the design of that, but again, we were coming to this because I was just thinking about like making hard moves, like all the choices, difficult choices we've had to make. When people tell me they don't like PBTA games, the number one thing is, when I dive into it, is they had a bad GM who did not know how to respond to the narrative fiction with here is the irrevocable choice I am making that you as the players now have to navigate around, which is the type of thing that creates the conversational spaces that we were just talking about. So like hard moves specifically, but also just general moves that are intentional elements of design. If you are exploring your gender right now, if you are deconstructing a faith, if you are looking at what's happening in the political world around you, if you want to not gamify that in a shitty way, but express that in a piece of game-centric poetry, a PBTA move is a really cool way to do that. And if you've never seen the type of PBTA moves that Jay Dragon or Rainan Jati or Aaron King write, in addition to ones that are in much more popular books, but are just standalone reflections that they do, you should go find them, because they are amazing. Like they are deeply evocative. They are doing interesting things, and they are things that can be done in just a fantasy space, but also can be moments of real, true reflection on what is happening in our lives around us right now. So that's, but I also like, I don't think we got there because we're smart. Like, I don't think I was like thinking about this stuff in a vacuum, especially given a lot of the other things that are happening out there. Like, we didn't know that they were going to release the 3rd edition of Apocalypse World, right? Like when we started ideating this thing, it's been a really beautiful thing to just talk to the bakers about what we wanted for this, and then hear them talk about why they're doing this now, right? But I'm seeing more and more people realize like that their voice has to be central to design work that we're doing, and I'm really hopeful that in 2026 we're just gonna see that. You have any thoughts on any of that?
The only thought that I have on that, because I think you said all of that really beautifully, honestly. The only thought that I have on that is I'm not gonna spoil anything that isn't mine, but I was just editing Aaron Voigt's end of year essay, a 17,000 word epic that I'm very excited for everyone to see, because I think he did some really incredible work on it that will kind of go through some of this conversation that you're discussing. Everyone, yeah, when that drops, you should absolutely watch it. I think it's going to be absolutely incredible.
Yeah. And that was kind of the thing. Like, we had to be like, how much do we want this to be us? Like we're like, it's hard because we do want a ton of people to think about this year. We do. I want to be clear. We do not need anybody doing something every single day, or to try to be some cultural movement. Cultural movements are only helpful if people are authentically integrating them into their lives. So every time I hear a resonance like Aaron's, whatever, like, I'm so excited for that right now, just because seeing all the patterning. This was a thing in Over Under, just to tie it back for people who are really into Over Under. The coolest thing in Over Under was the amount of human patterning that was just happening, of emergent, cohesive, mirrored thought. A little thing happens over here that connects to another little thing that happened over here, and those two things coming together with this other person's idea that was a little bit more powerful than them, and then launching off into this new plot point that ended up impacting far and wide what was happening in the game, was one of the coolest parts about Over Under. The fact that humans are reflective, patterning, like machines to a certain degree, like, is amazing. The great thing is, on top of that, we have full free will and cognizant thought that lets us act on those things. And
we
so,
have
like,
free will. Oh boy.
well, maybe, who knows? Only if I roll a 10 plus do I have free will. Otherwise it's a mixed success, and I only have the illusion of free will. And then
really well done.
My other two thoughts. I'm really excited about the amount of conversations around tactical RPGs that are happening right now. Like, skirmishers are hot. People are looking for more things that are kind of in that space, but they're looking for them in a narrative mode. They aren't just like, how do I make a skirmisher? They're like, how do I make a tactical RPG? I would point at ambition, and what is happening, that Yanni is doing there. It's been a game I've talked about repeatedly. It's different than any other game I've loved playing. It is way more system intensive, and the system is asking a lot of you as a player and directing a lot of what you're doing as a player. It is still doing some very interesting things in encouraging you to make tactical choices. But Ray from MythWorks has popped up on this. Like, there's a lot of people who are thinking in this mode, and there is a thing I know about that I can't provide a lot of details on, that I know is going to really lean into this understanding of tactical narrative play that I am just tremendously excited about. And again, I can see some of these different little pieces coming together right now at the end of 2025 that I think in 2026, we're going to see a lot of what does it mean for a game to be tactical and narrative as a design.
Story game chess. There you go.
I mean, Chess Jam was such a great early thing, but do you know how many people, Rowan, have pitched, hey, I want to make an RPG, but I want chess to be the combat mechanics to me in the last 3 months? It's 5. 5 is the answer.
That's crazy.
5 distinctive people, one of whom has finished a game. And then Keegan, who was thinking about it, was just like, oh, I was like, Keegan, this is almost exactly what you were talking about. And the person was like, oh, I'm so sorry. And Keegan was like, great, I don't have to make it. Like, it's done.
That's real.
And then the last thing that I'm excited about is people actually being ready to talk about play culture and not just systems. I think
system doesn't matter.
It doesn't. Come at me. It's so crazy to me that people think these are two different conversations. It's weird. It's weird to me when people get mad about that being a recursive conversation. That conversation coming up, systems mattering or not mattering, means new people are entering into the RPG space. People are considering and starting to understand the implications of systems in new ways. Like, it's a good conversation, and when it stops happening, we should be worried, because it means that our communities are shrinking, not growing, and that's a problem. It's a good conversation. I'm tired of hearing Gen Xers who only want to recommend their 3 preferred favorite systems instead of D&D rail about system matters in the most reductive, brain dead way possible. And I understand that they have trauma around people just wanting to play D&D. I don't, and I'm over it. However, play culture is an important factor in that. And that's like them wanting to skip that and eliminate the human agency to like prove that system is such a weird thing for me. But like Sean 4 has just launched into this big, let me talk about play cultures things based on some TikTok comments we've had over on, and it's Scene 4 over on TikTok, really great things. But like, this is the conversation I will have with people. Like, at the end of the day, what's happening at the table is what's important. Like, it is not necessarily always in design, but that's what's going to come out in design. Like, a game is what's left over when we're done playing. Like, we did a game. Like, the text that you wrote is not the game. And even the thing we're doing at the table while we're playing isn't exactly the game. It's what's left when we're done is the game. And I'll stand by that. We can argue about that later if you want to, or do it right now. But I think game is the residue of play. And either I or Kyle Latino said that first. It's in his master's paper, so he's got better documentation that he said it first. And it's possible that, again, we just had emergent thought at the same time as each other. But like, yeah, like I think a game is what's left over when you're done playing, which means that the choices you made at the table gave shape and birth to the game itself. And the system is important in that. And the play culture that you have is important in that. And the table culture outside of just the culture of play that you have is important. And the individual players are important. And people are like, well, all those things are so different. And I'm like, they are and they are not. And systems impact those things and people impact those things. And we can't view them as totally different conversations. We have to view them as a cohesive part of what is game and how does play and fun happen. And again, it's one of the reasons I'm really excited about the work that Emily is doing, like the codification of design language, the talks around actual play where people are intentionally making choices that are not just system, because the play culture on an actual play channel matters more than it does in a lot of other things, because it is on display for other people to look at and evaluate. Like, there's so much we can dive into when we start to talk about what are the cultures of play that evolve around table. And I like that now when I drop that into conversations, it's no longer just dismissed, but that people go, oh, yeah, let's talk about that more. And somebody referred to it as a thought killer, like as of a response. And I'm like, only if you can't ask the follow-up question, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, literally.
Like we don't have to let that be the end of a thought or the end of a conversation. Yanni and I had a huge disagreement because they're working on hard-coded super system intensive games. And I'm like, meh. So, and not in a shitty way, but like in a way that like I want to have this discussion. And to toss out Sam Sorensen one more time, Sam is my favorite person to disagree with. And this is, I think, what's most important.
Disagree with, not on the internet, in real life.
Either way, because I know Sam well enough in real life for that to be okay. But because I've never felt morally judged by it disagreeing with Sam. And I think that's the thing we have to get over in 2026 still to make this work is, hey y'all, like it's games. Like games are fun.
It's games. Hey guys, it's not human rights, it's games.
Yeah.
Like
and even if it's building resiliency in us to address human rights issues, it's still games, and we can stop and pause and have an honest, non-morally judgmental conversation, but also reflect on choices we may have made that may indicate something in ourselves that does need deeper evaluation when we're doing that. So I think we're finally getting to that place in 2026. So I think that's one for me, that's one like, hey, like human, one design intent, and one like culture thing for game stuff. So I think that's enough thoughts from me. So you're doing a cool thing. You've got Anthony Bourdain. Tell us more about this radical cool thing that you're doing in 2026.
So this is my plan. I've had a producer meeting about it. I have an outline for the episode, my pilot episode that I'm filming. I think the main thing that's interesting about a show like Anthony Bourdain's No Reservations is not actually the food. Tony, did you freeze? Oh, I was like, did you freeze? You're just listening intently. No. It's not actually the food. It's the games. It's like the conversations between people. It's not about the games itself that I'm interested in, although I do think those games are interesting. I think it's the people and the way they are interacting with this subject that is the most interesting aspect. So Anthony Bourdain would go to a country, he'd go to a place, he would have a meal with someone, and he'd have a conversation about their life. He'd have a conversation about their country, about their culture, about their politics, and how that was reflected in their food. Like some of the most radical stuff that Anthony Bourdain would do he would go to Lebanon and he would talk about like the culture in Beirut while they were being bombed. He would go to like all of these various places where people would have this reductive view of the culture there and get to display the history and culture of the people who are there by the fact that they were sharing this really human element together. Everyone eats food. And so what I want to bring over into this idea about games, which I'm taking a lot of inspiration from People Make Games, like Quinn's Quest's videos, where he goes out with his like team and they went to like a LARP. I think that's a great example of an episode where they went to this Mad Max LARP, and the LARP itself wasn't really the subject of the video. It was the relationships that people were building within the fiction of it. And my idea is going to various places and getting to do this through games. My pitch for my pilot episode is in New York, obviously, because I don't have money to go anywhere and I can film it here in New York. But the idea is that New York is a place that is constantly evolving and changing by new cultures coming in and building on top of one another into this multi-layered city that is a melting pot in some ways, but also heavily stratified in others. And talking to people, like talking to Lauren over at 20-Sided Store, who does so much work for the games community, but also for her local community, like brought in a local politician recently, does a lot of community organizing out of there. Or speaking to like the guys who sit outside of Washington Square Park and are chess savants, and like that's how they make their living, is by like having tourists come and be like, oh, I can beat you at chess, and then get destroyed in a couple of seconds because they're actually grandmasters. And like the people who play soccer in the park nearby my house, or the anarchist chess club that meets in the middle of the Lower East Side and uses chess as a front for like radical action. And talking about the way that these games have allowed people to build community and change community through the act of sitting down and playing a game with them and having a conversation. And I want to bring that to other places.
That's cool.
And that is like my big idea for a show that I want to make. And I'm going to be filming the pilot in Q1, Q2 of 2025.
I'm so excited.
2026.
Is that a personal project? Is this a Rowan project, or is this part of Rascal? Either way is great. I'm just curious.
It is started off as a Rowan project, but I have spoken to my team at Rascal, and when I get it finished and done, they are very happy to host it and kind of have it as a Rascal production, and then I can maybe shop it around and see if I can get some funding to do a full season.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm so excited. I'm also really excited because I know Philly is a low budget option for a next
Literally,
location.
Yeah. And you know your little tea store, your little coffee store.
That's right. That's right. My little recovery friendly coffee shop. Great place to come hang out. No, that's so awesome. I'm so glad like we were able to do this. Like I said, I couldn't, as soon as I was like, who do I want to sit down with to talk about last year, look forward to this year with, you were the name that immediately came to mind. Was so glad that we were able to do this, and make this happen as part of this. If folks want to follow your work, find more out about you, where are all the best places to do that?
Blue Sky is probably a place, at Rowan Zeoli. I am also on TikTok. I'll probably have to start posting there again. But really going to rascal.news and subscribing the work that's done there, because while I'm kind of doing the work behind the scenes, both at Rascal and in the world, they are still helping me pay my rent because I am still doing work with them. And so, hey, if you want to, I don't know, fund the revolution, help Rascal stay alive.
Awesome. Yeah, you can go to rascal.news. I know that Evan signed up in the middle of the stream. I know that they had to pop off to go run their home game. Creator of Ritual Deck, which we did a 2-part actual play of with Viditya Violetti, so we can get everybody. We can try to get as many roommates in as possible. Here over the last weekend, it is a Yu-Gi-Oh inspired card and other card capturing battle game inspired Carve from Brindlewood game, which I've also heard, Rowan, that you really want to get into Carve from Brindlewood games and play some Brindlewood Bay.
We just played the Between yesterday, literally.
Yeah.
So
what mystery did y'all do?
A what?
What mystery are y'all doing?
Oh, we're doing the Opium Den murders.
Okay, so Limehouse Lurker.
Limehouse Lurker.
Yeah. It's super good. What are you playing?
I'm the Mother.
I did the Mother for our actual play of it. I love the Mother as a character because you just get to do stuff. Like there's some rolling, but it's a lot of just like, cool, I'm just stealing body parts and sticking my hands into people's guts and getting clues, and that's it.
And I made a real freak. She's a monster, and it's great.
I'm excited about it. The flashbacks in that, I also love that you get to do so many like mini GM moments of flashbacking in the Between also too. It's so good. So super excited for y'all to unpack that. But yeah, if you want to check out all the stuff that Rowan does, head over there. If you want to support the work that we do, we haven't really announced this yet, but in 2026, we'll also be, Zine Club is the best way to do that. You can go to RPGZine.Club. We put out 2 games every single month, 1 story game, 1 adventure game. Story games are usually narrative focused. Adventure games are oftentimes exploration or adventure focused, but sometimes it's a little bit of vibes. So you gotta sometimes show up to find out. We've got an extra bonus coming out in January to all members. You'll get a copy of that zine we did with Aaron King, physically shipped straight to you. Also in 2026, we are going to be launching a support level of Zine Club. If you're like, I don't need to get stuff all the time, I've got a lot of games, but you really want to support the work we do here at Plus One, we'll have a $3, $6, and $10 level that will have some extra bonuses and get you Zine Club discounts and swag when they go out. But you won't get the zines every single month, but you will be helping us help. It's about 26 creators every single year go get their games into print and onto tables without having to go to crowdfunding. Lets us be way more experimental and try new cool things, invest in new and emerging creative voices in some really dynamic ways. So if you want to support us and everything that we do, RPGZine.Club is a great way to do it. But anything you buy from plus1exp.com will help support us. We will have a Now You've Seen It this coming Wednesday. I don't know exactly what that's going to look like. I've also got to get my computer fixed. So I think our actual plays for this weekend are going to get canceled because I have to go get an HDMI port replaced. And that's just a thing we got to work on. But we also have a Pine Tar of Claws Manor, an expansion for Wassailing coming out this week through Zine.Club. And we'll have a 2 or 3 shot with Mike Martins later on this month. And Keegan is hosting a Fanta actual play at the end of the month also too. So all that great content will be coming. We will be taking a short break for the holidays as always, and then back on January 7th with an interview with somebody for our second episode of Show Me Your Moves with Aaron King, which is our dedicated monthly show reflecting on the different moves that get submitted to the jam we're hosting. Show Me the Make Moves jam over on Itch. That was a whole lot, and I don't remember how we're supposed to end this show, so I'm going to do what we do on our other show. We're going to wave at the camera, Rowan, until I take us off air. Bye, everybody. Oh my gosh, where am I even looking for this? I don't even know. I have to select a different scene. I have to select a different scene. Oh no, they're going to see the back end. All right, we're clear.